we on? Is it happening?
We are on and it is happening. Good afternoon, Cate Tolnai, and welcome to anyone who has watched us live or recorded on YouTube. My name is Noah Geisel. This is Cate Tolnai, and you are live at Badge Chat K-12. And Cate, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
For anybody who is new to our community, we do a Twitter chat once a week on Mondays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. It is 30 minutes. And every other week or so, we like to alternate to a Google Hangout to give us an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper. We call it a show and tell. And Cate's going to be doing her own show and tell with us today with something that I don't think you're the one who coined this term, Cate, but other people are referring to it as the Tolnai method.
Yes. Yes. Standing proud with that one.
And before we dive into the Tolnai method, do you mind just sharing a bit with us about just who you are and how you got started on your digital badge journey?
Yeah. So I most recently moved to Santa Clara with my family, and I work as an academic technology specialist out of the Santa Clara County Office of Education. Previous to that, I served as instructional technology TOSA and coordinator for a small school district just north of Sacramento. And then before that, I was 10 years in the classroom. So when I transitioned out of the classroom into a teacher of teachers position, it was right in 2013, beginning of that school year, when the buzz around digital badges kind of came to the forefront, and I participated in an open online course on digital badges and thought, oh my gosh, there's something here. Like the inner Girl Scout in me just got all excited. So
you were pretty intrinsically motivated from the beginning. You found out about it and dove right in. Nobody told you, you must do this, Cate.
No. In fact, when I arrived at the county office, I was aware that there are so many free resources out there, and I had learned so much connecting on Twitter and through my other professional learning networks that I was really intrigued with the idea that badges could acknowledge some of that informal learning.
Totally. And I think there's a lot of us who share that exact same passion around this, that the badges can help us notice and name stuff that is happening and not being noticed and named by schools and school districts, even though it's there and it really deserves to be credentialed. And for folks who are just joining us, this is Cate Tolnai, and she is at Cate Tolnai. And if you have questions for Cate, you can use the Q&A app on our Hangout. You can also tweet using the hashtag BadgeChatK12, and we'll make sure to get those to Cate live and on the air. And Cate, out of respect for your time, I will ask you to jump right into, just sharing with us how you got from, I'm really interested in this digital badge space, to coming up with what others are now calling the Tolnai method of credentialing professional development for teachers.
Well, I have to say that, so in the last 3 years, what I have done is focused on the research component and looking at all the amazing platforms that are out there. And I started with Credly and really liked how easy it was to make the badges there. And then jumped around, looked at class badges, have spent quite a bit of time at Badgelist. Even looking inside of some closed badge platforms like Edmodo and Schoology, I just was noticing the trend that more and more systems were coming up with a solution. But what I felt was missing was an opportunity for teachers to learn on the same platform as they could use in their classroom. So, being a Google certified innovator and having the ability to manage the console for my district, I looked to Google to be a solution because we already had a relationship with Google where we felt like our students' data was real private, or private to the extent we needed it to be.
And so do I hear you saying, Cate, that part of your choice to build your digital badge system using Google tools was more about teacher familiarity and immediacy to their existing work than it was about going open badges or not open badges?
Absolutely. I was confident that it would be more successful if we could leverage a platform that was already in use and that was already part of initiatives in our district. So rather than complicate it, I wanted to simplify it. And I also felt like not only was there a familiarity with it, but there was a real commitment on behalf of the district to educate teachers and students to use Google Apps successfully. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if we could badge within this and keep it all in-house and keep it free, because we were already getting Google Apps for free. So all of those things I was thinking about. And then, Noah, I got a new job and I left. And I left. I was able to we were able to gamify one of our summer boot camps, and we actually used Badgeless to do that. We were really happy with that, but again, they're still looking for the right fit for teachers to use a badge system with their kids. And so after I kept thinking and connecting with other people and just kind of dreaming with other people, I started to wonder if really Google Apps could host, display, and distribute all of the badges for as a solution. And I think I found it.
Well, that might be a really great
you like that?
moment for
segue.
us to segue to a screen share and actually dive into a tour of what exactly you have created.
Okay, so. And now, Noah, I'm not gonna be able to see your face. So if you need me to stop talking because you're talking too fast, you just holler.
I will just cut on in. And while Cate is bringing up that screen share, just for anybody who's just joining us, we are Badge Chat K-12, and feel free to ask your questions live using the Q&A app on our Google Hangout, as well as tweeting at us using Badge Chat K-12 as the hashtag, and we will make sure to have Cate answer your questions. So EdTech badges for all. Cate, tell us more about what we're looking at here.
Okay, so the badges you see on the header, those are ones that were designed and inspired by the presenters at that boot camp that I just mentioned. So this is kind of like version -1 of trying to roll out some professional development badges. Since I wanted to honor kind of the history of it, so looking at EdTech badges for all and where it is now, what I'm looking for, in addition to doing everything within Google Apps, is this idea of focusing on 4 major components. So celebrating learning as it's occurring, offering teachers and other educators choice in their professional development learning paths, helping a teacher clarify their learning so that they can tell their own story and help their students tell their story, and then finally using badges and micro-credentials to further connect us rather than silo us from other professionals. So really working on the culture piece. And I make sure to put on the front page some norms like be respectful and post content. Don't post a badge unless you actually earned it, right? I mean, the system's not perfect in that anybody could right-click copy a picture of a badge. But we like to set out this idea of professionalism. So I've right now created 3 different collections. So I'm going to click on tech integration badges.
And Cate, really quick, though, it looked like you kind of had 4 C's going on there, if you will.
Oh, I
and
do.
I'm curious, is there one C out of those 4 between celebration, choice, connectivity, and clarification that you're noticing really resonating with the teachers who are opting into participation?
I think choice, because the others require a teacher to put attention on themselves in ways that I think a lot of educators are uncomfortable with doing quite yet. And I think choice is the one that allows them to take action right away. Whereas, when you're celebrating your success or clarifying, telling your story, I mean, that's kind of like a whole other level of owning your learning. So I think the easiest place to start is with choice, and there's a lot of power in being in charge of your own learning. It's what we ask our kids to do. So I think it's important to honor that as professionals.
Yeah, and before you go on to the collection you were going to show our good friend of Badge Chat, Gideon Williams from Europe, Brian says that you bring up a really good point about the digital badges, that we need a platform that teaches with which we're familiar and comfortable. And I'm wondering, if you're even hearing from users that because you're using Google Sites and they're already using Google Apps for Education tools, if you're hearing things like, oh, good, this isn't just one more thing, that there's a sense of, to steal one of your C's, connectivity to existing work.
100%. Yeah, I think there's almost a sense of relief because there's an interest. I think we're at a point where people that have heard about badges long enough are finally willing to take their first steps in that direction. So to actually, like, I'll use the word simplify again, but to leverage a platform that already exists, I think there's a real sense of relief there, which is going to in turn help people feel like they can be slightly more creative which is what I really want, which, because then that goes back to focusing on content and design, which is what's at the essence of this whole movement.
Love it. Love it. And thank you for letting me interrupt you there. And for anybody else who, like Gideon, has questions or comments, feel free to go ahead and use the Q&A app on our Hangout or to tweet using hashtag BadgeChatK12. And really quick, we do have one from Jared Ward in Utah with Canvas asking if he can share this site with his classes.
Absolutely. Yep. It's shareable and I welcome iteration.
Awesome. So you were going to start to share some collections with us.
Yep. So this is definitely an infant stage, but I wanted to actually, in the last couple of weeks, I've tried to harness all the different platforms that I've badged on and bring them into one spot in Google. So any of you that are out there and have been badging, in a silo for a while knows the complexity of taking your badges from all these different places and bringing them together. But here's my first attempt. So I came up with the first 3 collections. I intend on making it larger, but one of the components that should hit you right away is this idea of metadata, which we're going to come back to. But I want to note that at the top of the page, first thing you want a viewer to see is the metadata, because the metadata basically connects to the data, the information behind the badge itself. So it says who's earned it, who has created it, what the evidence is, what the description of the badge is. So it's basically like the transcript of the badge, which is really important because as we try and legitimize this process, we need to be able to speak some of the same language that districts and states are comfortable with, like transcripts and credentials. So I'm just going to make note of the metadata link up top. But then you should see just these badges that I designed in Google Drawings. They're open source. So I use the nounproject.com for my central logos. And then I just make the design inside of Google Drawings. I assign a point value. So it would be, it's a consistent point value for me, but it's not necessarily based on a rubric that I've developed yet, though that would definitely be a logical next step.
And are the points part of a leveling system, a gamification system, something to do with professional learning hours?
I think it could all, yes to everything there. What I wanted to be able to showcase here is that there's room for points if you're ready to add points or if you're interested. And it would just be, it's very similar to just saying a level 1, 2, or 3. As the points increase, you're going to see an increase in the amount and complexity of required evidence and probably a weightiness to the description. So for example, a 10-point badge may only, as you can see here, it's the ability to take a screenshot and copy and paste some digital content. So those are foundational skills for doing any sort of tech integration. And the required evidence are three different links. If you scroll down to a flipped learning research or application badge, which are both worth 50 points, here's where you're going to be linking to a personal response on a Google Doc, where you're watching a video, where you're reflecting on a blog article you read, and then you're choosing a tool, or you're actually like flipping a lesson and including that as your evidence. So the points are able to quantify the learning in a way that, again, bridges this this movement for people that are used to that quantifiable type of learning.
Now, this is an amazing just collection that you already have going, and I hear you saying that you're just at the tip of the iceberg. And I'm curious, if you could speak a little bit to just the workflow of it. I know that was a topic we recently had on Badge Chat. How much work is this, and who's doing the work, and what does that look like?
I'm doing the work. I'm doing the work in my personal time. It's connected to presentations that I'm doing outside of work, but it's making me a better ed tech coach, which is what I do as a job. And really, it's getting me to think differently about adult education and professional learning, because it's integrating the 4 C's, which you see on my homepage. So workflow-wise, I've created, you can see on the site, I think there's like 6 or 8 different badges on the site right now, but I tried to streamline it by creating a spreadsheet that actually holds all of the descriptions and the evidence and a link to the badge itself. So that would probably be helpful to show you.
Yeah, that would be awesome to show it. And, then I think it might be helpful for some folks who are watching this, me being one of them, to hear about what that looks like from the moment the teacher says, I really want to get that screenshot badge, to being issued or earning that screenshot badge. And quickly before you do, anybody who's just joined us, this is Cate Tolnai. She is sharing her system with us and her badge system with us. And you can use your Q&A app on the Google Hangout to ask her questions, or tweet us using hashtag BadgeChatK12, and we'll make sure to ask Cate those questions live. And Cate, go ahead and tell us what we're looking at here.
Are you actually seeing the spreadsheet there?
We are. The shout out.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to take you to the same tech integration page in there. So this is what I did to, again, streamline the process. So I can see in one space the title, the points, the description, which I basically copy and paste from this spreadsheet onto the Google site itself, the required evidence. And then once I design the badge, I'm going to put a link to it over here, a link to the Google drawing, so that I have kind of quick reference right here available for me to see. Then from that point, I will go ahead and lay it out here. And then what I didn't
get... Is that badge ledger internal facing, meaning you're the one who sees that, or is that something that everyone sees?
There's really no need for anybody to see it. It's just for my organization's sake.
Perfect.
And then what I didn't show you yet is at the bottom of this page, each of the collections has its own Google form. So what's nice about the way this form's designed is it's generic, with the exception of this question right here, name of the digital badge you're applying for. So I'll go ahead and personalize the collection based on the form and the page that it's on. But what I like is that the form itself is consistent for each collection. So on each page, it's going to ask for the same 4 pieces of evidence, even if there's only 2 that are required. I've made room for up to 4, and they're just generic. So include a link, make sure it's viewable. Mostly, I'm finding that the evidence I'm asking for is a link to either a doc or a file. And then this is how the user would submit their evidence. It would go into the metadata form, which would have links to their evidence right there if someone had submitted. And then I would assess the evidence, and assuming all is right in the world and the evidence is awesome, which we want to assume, I would go into the file, the drawing itself, and I would take that Google Doc and I would I would take the Google account and I would just share this badge with that earner, and it would be up to them to decide how they would want to display it.
Interesting. So let me just back up one to that last piece to make sure I'm understanding how display works in that case. So it's just like any file in Google Drive where I'm adding them in my share settings as someone who has access to it?
Absolutely, yep. And because I'm asking, let's get you to the right tab, because on this Google form, one of the questions is their Google account, I'm able to quickly go to that metadata spreadsheet, assess the evidence, grab the Google account information, then I go straight to that, straight to the drawing and share it with them. So their display could just simply be a publicly viewable Google Drive folder or a private one. It could be a page on their ePortfolio that they download these images as PNGs and upload it there. It really is up for them to decide. The advantage that I think of this drawing is that there's a bit.ly at the bottom, which I'm going to bring attention to right there. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so that bit.ly, no matter where it's posted, is going to bring anybody back to the metadata spreadsheet. Does that make sense?
Oh, so in other words, they then can, if they click on the bit.ly or copy that and paste it into their browser, they're going to then be able to see what is the description of the badge, what was the criteria, and who are you as the creator and issuer of the badge. Correct.
And that was important to me because I didn't want people to lose touch with the data by copying and pasting this drawing or this JPEG or ping into any site. So no matter what, the link to the metadata is a part of the badge itself.
Awesome. And really quick, Cate, we do have some folks on Twitter saying that, oh, I think this is actually me, not you, that the link that I posted, I'm guessing, is not taken to the Hangout on Air, but to the registration page. And if one of our kind live viewers wouldn't mind copying the URL at the top of your screen and tweeting that out with the hashtag BadgeChatK12 for the folks who are saying that I messed up, I would appreciate that, because that is a level of multitasking that I will mess up right now while we're live with Cate. We do have 8 minutes left with Cate, and so if you want to hear your question and not just mine, feel free to tweet those as using hashtag BadgeChatK12, as well as using your Q&A app on that Google Hangout. So Cate, I'm kind of curious about, as we wait for some of those other questions to come in, it seems like you're using that file share functionality within Google Drive as your own sort of hacking the system for what on a traditional badge issuing platform like those that you mentioned, Badgeless, Credly, would be just straightforward badge issuing.
Exactly.
And as a Google innovator, do you see yourself doing something that's sort of more of a right now solution? And do you kind of hope that Google's going to start paying attention and decide to, just like they did with Classroom, watch people hack their tools long enough to where they say, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and make that functionality for you so you no longer have to hack it?
Wouldn't that be awesome? I think there's a lot of potential there. The one thing I can safely say is that I've seen people iterate this in their own way inside a classroom, outside of Classroom, and what's consistent between all of us is just a real desire to keep things streamlined and clean within the Google Apps for Education set of tools. So I don't know what that'll turn into, but I think it's intriguing. And I think the more we talk about it and the more we quote unquote hack it, the better. It's going to kind of push everybody to think about how they can do this. I just would hate to lose some of that creative pieces if they try and streamline it too much.
So I almost hear you saying that it's a delicate balance between a need to have some things be on the same page with let's allow people to do what they need to do for themselves and personalize this and avoid over standardization.
Yeah, that's absolutely. And I think one of the important pieces to me throughout this process has been working hard to keep things as open source as possible. I think it's a natural opportunity to go back to digital citizenship and to talk about it with teachers and talk about what it means to grab an open source icon for the center and how to search for, the background of a Google drawing that's labeled for reuse with modification. Like, what? These are terms people don't think about. And so it's pretty cool to be able to weave digital citizenship into this whole piece too. I love it.
Yeah, kind of like you talked about research. It's really action research that they're learning by doing. Cate, we do have another question here from Gideon, who says he loves the idea of using the forms for storing the metadata and wonders if this could allow you to moderate the evidence. And then he asks if others are able to see other users' data.
Yeah, that would just be all in the share settings within the form itself. So right now my forms, again, they're not being used, so I don't have to worry about it. But if this was within, if I was doing this with my classroom with kids under 13, this is where I would keep the viewing to just within our domain or just to the students that I share the form with, because there is personal information in there. And the nice thing is with the site, you can keep it pretty locked down as well. Just really, that allows you to respond to the culture of your environment. The other thing I wanted to say, which has come up a lot when I've talked to people, is people are interested in automating this process and wanting and asking, do you think there's an add-on that you could just send the badge out right away? And I, with a smile on my face, say no, there isn't, and it's okay that there isn't, because if we're not assessing the evidence and making sure our eyes are on it and that's high quality before we give a badge, then that badge is no more than just a digital sticker, which is a little bit of a dangerous place to be. So.
Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. And I think that there's another piece that you alluded to that you'd said, yeah, somebody could take a screenshot of one of these and make it look like I have issued this to them. And for folks who don't do that, that there is this, I guess, sort of assumption of validation that's happening, where it's not just them saying, I deserve this badge. It's Cate Tolnai saying, yes, you do. And
Right.
that when we automate things, then all of a sudden that's not necessarily in place, that degree of validation, at least when it comes to subjective criteria. I guess objective criteria would be another use case. And I'm curious if you could say a little bit more about the iterations that you're seeing, and anything that you've seen and thought, oh man, I wish I would have thought about that. That's genius, and I can't wait till I have a bunch of free time that I don't actually have, so that I can steal back your iteration, add it to my own.
Yeah, I did a presentation at a Q Rockstar event in Roseville a couple weeks ago, I guess. And one of the attendees, Lisa Gordino, which a little shout out there, she stood up and showed us how she's having her students create a badging system within Google Classroom. So what I will do is make sure I grab that link. I know it's in formation right now, but it would be worthwhile sharing with the BadgeCat 212 community, because it's nice to see kids being in charge of the process and also leveraging Google Classroom. And then I'm connected to a lot of different Google innovators who are just as keyed in on this as I am. And I don't know where it's going to go. I mean, that's kind of the fun part of moonshotting, is you just don't know where it might go and who's listening. So case in point is this,
Well, I definitely, for one, encourage you to continue moonshotting and dreaming big, because this is just really exciting stuff. And just seeing some of the buzz that some of your Q colleagues from a few weekends ago, your Twitter buzz was threatening to break the Twitter, and it was just really exciting to see. So you're definitely having an impact. For folks who did not get your questions asked, I apologize. They kind of came in a flood right there at the end. Cate Tolnai is at Cate Tolnai on Twitter. She will also be in the Aurora, Colorado area June 24th for the 2016 Badge Summit. It is the day before ISTE, so if you are already planning on coming to Colorado, we invite you to come join us for that. You can get details for that at badge.aurorak12.org/badge summit. I can also tweet out a link to that. We are going to have a ton of really amazing badge minds from all over the United States. Cate, a lot of folks who are good friends of this chat who you see week in, week out, as well as folks from even other countries, Don Prezant in Canada, Serge Rivet in France, Doug Beauchat in the UK. We have folks coming from Finland. And as of an hour ago, this one's kind of cool, Cate. Cate got a sneak preview. She's the first person to know about this. I'll let you tell everybody, Cate. Who
oh,
do we
no,
have
wait, I'm not. No, this is all you.
Oh, I'm punting. We are going to have one of the creators of Oregon Trail coming in and give a presentation about the evolution of gamification and where he sees that playing into adult and student motivation and the digital badges and credentialing. So it's going to be a really fun time. $99, includes breakfast and lunch. We're capping tickets at 300, so make sure to get yours before they run out, and we really look forward to seeing you. And Cate, just thank you for not just taking the 30 minutes to be with us this afternoon, but just for your leadership that you've shown in this community over the last couple of years, and for your willingness to be vulnerable and put your just getting started sort of prototype out there in the wild to be judged by people. Just thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, no, and thanks for the leadership, because my gosh, what you have carved out for all of us Badgers on all the different levels is huge. So thanks for your leadership as well, Noah.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you to everybody who watched us live. Cate, I think you might have broken our record for live viewership on our Badge Chat K-12 Show and Tell. And to anybody who finds us on the YouTube, we welcome you taking the time. Appreciate it. And we do have a T-shirt submission from Rich Dixon that folks can go check out as well. But we are out of time. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. And Cate, again, thank you so much for your time. Absolutely. And have a great evening.
All right, we'll see you guys online.
Bye.
Bye.